Hey everybody, it's Paige Evans and I have a new process video to share with you today. This is made for my collaboration with JOANN stores, so all of the supplies that I'm using today you can find in your local JOANN as well as their online shop, and a few things are from my Etsy cut files. So I started with the 12 by 12 Take Me Away pattern paper pad, and I'm going to use the paper with the squares of different patterns on it, about 1.5 sheets of this one. There are 2 of every pattern in the paper pad, so I used about 1.5. And I cut them into rows, and then I'm using this EK Success Heart Confetti Punch, and I'm just punching a set of hearts from every square. And then I'm going to arrange them. This is something that I've loved to do lately, which is creating layered shapes in little concentric sizes. So I started with the largest hearts first, and then I'm placing the medium hearts on top, followed by the smallest hearts. Well, there's even tinier hearts, but I just wanted the 3 largest, and I saved the teeny tiny hearts for later. Don't throw those away. You can always find a place to add little teeny tiny hearts. And I ended up making a few more hearts than what I'm showing here, but this was a good amount to start with, but like I said, I ended up making about maybe 8 to 10 more. So once I layered all the hearts, I didn't add adhesive. You could add a little dab of adhesive to help the hearts stay in place, but I'm running them through my sewing machine to attach all of the layers together. I'm just using white thread and a basic running stitch, and I stitched it into a garland, and now I'm going to use scissors to cut them apart so they're individual hearts once again. And then I'm going to bend the hearts in half to create dimension. So I bend it in half and then unfold it, and then all of the flaps fold up and create lovely dimension and shadows. Throughout the creation of this layout, I do go back and bend up the hearts as they get flattened out. So this layout went in a completely different direction. This was the first idea that I had, which was to draw lines through the layout at 6 inches, so from corner to corner, and then horizontally and vertically. So I made a mark at the 6-inch marks and then connected those lines with a pencil. And then I thought about placing 2 of these pictures of my daughter Jane in her super cute and silly outfit, and I wanted them to fit inside the wedges, so I just printed them 6 by 6 inches square and then cut them into right angled triangles. There's probably a more mathematical term for that. It's been a long time since I was in school. Anyway, so the cardstock I actually didn't trim all the way to 12 by 12, so things weren't lining up perfectly, so I just trimmed it off to make it exactly 12 by 12. But anyway, so I put the photos into their sections, and then I thought about putting the hearts along all these pencil lines, and I was going to hand stitch through the lines. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, so I considered moving some of the hearts around so it wasn't so like a starburst or an asterisk shape. But then I went in a completely different direction, so I erased the pencil marks. That's why I did them in pencil, just in case I didn't end up liking them. So I erased the pencil marks, and now I'm going to do some mixed media work on the background. So I'm using white acrylic paint, which you can definitely find in JOANN stores, and a palette knife, and I'm scraping white acrylic paint across this textured background, and I'm making it uneven and having some parts thicker than others, and let that dry. And then I'm going to mix a shade of pink with modeling paste, and you can also find these acrylic paints at JOANN and modeling paste. I used Liquitex. So I'm mixing the pink paint into the white modeling paste using the palette knife, the scraping tool. And I die cut one of my background cut files, the Wonky Hearts background cut file. I actually repeated it 4 times onto a single studio, and I cut it from smooth white cardstock using a Silhouette Cameo. Again, you can find those in JOANN stores, and I'm scraping the modeling paste, the pink custom modeling paste, over that stencil. Once that dried, I wanted to add even more color and interest to the background, so I brought in some watercolors and I'm splashing colors to match the colors of the pattern paper hearts that I've made. So I'm starting with yellow. I'll mix in some of the darker pink, some light green, some teal, and I like creating bigger splashes by adding more water to the brush, and that also makes it lighter when it dries. And it's definitely a very pastel look that I'm going for on this layout. Adding in some purple, speeding it up with a hair dryer so I can keep going. And then I wanted to create a large title on the background. So one of my favorite phrases to create is love you or love this. So I thought about placing the hearts into those letters to say love you, using about the height of 3 hearts per letter. And this is when I did end up making a few more hearts because I ran out. But you couldn't tell that it said love you very well. So then I decided to actually cut letters to say love you from smooth white cardstock. And then I wanted to add another layer of interest, which is hand stitching. I love adding hand stitching to my layouts. So I created a cut file that comes with the holes. It creates the holes for the letters. But before I did the hand stitching, I wanted to pick which photo to use, so I printed some of my daughter, some of my son, and in the end I decided to go with these same photos that I was working with earlier. I just think the colors go so well with this collection, and I just feel like it's just, yeah, this layout is perfect for these photos because I love her, I love what she's doing, so chose those 2 pictures. So I die cut the title using my Cameo and a cut file that I designed with the stitched holes, so the Cameo cut the holes for me, and then I'm going to do a simple back stitch through the letters. So I'm using white DMC embroidery thread. I like to use all 6 strands for the ultimate thickness and texture, and using a needle and yeah, just doing a back stitch. So it took maybe half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. I wasn't really paying attention, but I hand stitched through all of the letters, and then I placed them back on the layout. And I'm using dimensional adhesive, so these foam squares, to add the letters back in place to create lots of dimension, and also so that the hearts, the layered hearts, could still bend up. If I just smushed them down, it wouldn't have all that texture that I created in the beginning. So using dimensional adhesive, those foam squares, helps create lots of texture. So here's where I'm coming in with some of those teeny tiny hearts from the beginning. The layout didn't feel quite finished. It was pretty empty on the top and bottom, so these hearts were the perfect finishing touch. I just scattered some across the top, across the bottom, used a little dab of liquid glue to adhere them in place, and it's like raining hearts. There's a definite heart theme going on, which is perfect for the Love You title. Adding journaling, so I like to write it with a pencil first to make sure that's where I like it. I decided that is a good spot for it, and so I wrote my journaling with a pen, and that's it. I hope you are inspired to check out your local JOANN store for these supplies, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.